Hello? Yeah. No, yeah. No, I can't. Now I can.
No, I can't. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Let's see what I got to do. Release the camera.
Release
We're
release the beast.
There you go.
By the sound of the music, it must be Saturday. And here you are in Fresh Black Coffee, Eddie Huff, David Van, and David Arn. So,
Arnett, Arnett. I'm just trying to help you.
yeah, it was supposed to be a joke, Dave, but I see you don't take jokes very easily. And I think you got it right.
Will you take something else, Eddie?
What is that?
My wife went shopping. We had to celebrate early Christmas, and she found something that she said, I don't know what it is, but it looks different. I'm going to get it. So, Eddie, if you can pronounce what this is.
Oh, yes, speculatius.
Speculatius. Okay, I needed the proper.
But they just call it speculat.
Speculat. All right. Well, I'm going to share
It's kind of a
cookies.
gingerbread spiced cookie out of Holland.
Wasn't this something you referred to last week about your traditions growing up?
Mm-mm.
I thought you used that word.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, the German thing is Lebkuchen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Lebkuchen, which is it's a soft ginger cookie.
Okay.
But it's a spicy cookie with nuts in it and everything, and then it's chocolate with a spice over it, and it has a Catholic unleavened bread at the bottom. You can't get them at World Market.
Okay.
They have the best price. Ziggy's had the monopoly on them for Ziggy's German store. Had them for years. And then the other place, which was really funny, is the Asian market on 71st.
How about that?
I know.
The Vietnamese know how to do it.
Well, I think it's Chinese, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Bad Eddie got caught. I could go some places with all of this. But anyway, the Asian market on 71st by the 169 up there.
Okay, you had mentioned there's something at Aldi's that sells out right away.
That's the Lebkuchen.
Okay.
Kuchen.
And this is the folks from up there by the Baltic, the Dutch.
The Dutch, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I think Germans have picked it up, and now I see they've made it to America, the specular.
Yeah, because these are just on a bed of almonds, sliced almonds.
Well, you see, that's a new one. Normally, you take all the almonds away; it's just a cookie.
Okay, and it's a really spiced. A lot of the same spices I get in a pumpkin pie, but no pumpkin taste to it.
Right.
But it's
a little spicier. It has kind of a little bite on your tongue. Mm-hmm. If it's good. Would you like one, Dave?
No. Yeah. I try not to eat when I'm on air.
Oh, you know what, Dave? I know what the problem with you is.
Thank you. That's a lot better.
A lot better. You sounded like you were in a tunnel.
I'm giving up the microphone for you to speak now. I'm going to enjoy my cookie.
So you're having fun eting on air, and the compelling public purpose for
wasting my time. That's what's really going through. These knuckleheads are wasting my good time eating cookies on air.
Absolutely astounding. But anyway,
I have to say, these are good.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm going to mute my mic here for a minute.
And both of you guys need all the good in your life you can possibly get. On other topics, though, since you've left me alone, it's a good thing I prepped for this show.
Yes, we're going to eat cookies. You take over. Go ahead, Dave. Give us.
Well, of course, on Fresh Black Coffee, I'm always happy to.
Which reminds me, by the way, these are very, very good with fresh black coffee, or coffee with cream as well, and sugar. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Not only do you interrupt me during news and commentary, but you interrupt me when I'm trying to give you a good commercial.
Okay.
It's stunning. Great to be here. A couple of things going around in our community. In Broken Arrow, there was a planning meeting that approved a proposal that is now going to the Broken Arrow City Council for an Islamic mosque. Now, it's not, I don't want to speak to the religion of it, but the mosque, where they want to locate it, is planned 700 parking spots, a large mosque, but apparently the back of the lot is in a floodplain, which means, and there, let me step back. It also is in an area where the city has not extended sewage or water. So if they're going to...
they should feel right at home.
I try not to make insults there too badly at anyone. But just the logistics on this and where it's located may not be the best in the long-term growth and development of Broken Arrow. And they are actually using the religion, I think, to give it more weight than it should as a development. You know, if you have land that is requiring a septic system, then you've got to test it. You've got to percolate it. You know, you've got to run tests on that land to make sure it can handle a sewage system like that. And I don't believe that's done. But because this is a minority, they're going to just let it slide by without some of that. And that's a concern. Now, it is not my work that, I would promote here in this, but Awake, Oklahoma, and the investigative reporter Karen Harden has done some good work on that. And you can find that at awakeoklahoma.com. I am going to look into it. I was actually at the meeting, but there were so many people that they filled up the meeting room, they filled up the overflow room, they filled up the halls, and there were people standing outside, none of which appreciated, well, let me rephrase, there were a few supporters, but the vast majority of attendees at that function opposed it. The problem is there is not, I think, in any city in Oklahoma, public plans on how the city wants to grow. We don't talk about growth. We leave that to what I call the shadow governments, the COGs. In Tulsa County in northeastern Oklahoma, it's the Indian Nations Council of Government, otherwise known as INCOG. And they're a wonderful organization, highly political. And they include all of the county commissioners within their area, all of the mayors within their area on their board. So they have roughly 40 some odd people on their board. And, you know, an executive in an organization, when you see that they have 40 people on a board, what that essentially means is nobody can tell them what to do.
Right. They can't tell each other what to do.
No. And in fact, staff often gets to the point where their primary job is to politic the people on the board rather than to do any other work. And I've seen that more than once. Now, INCOG is a great planning organization. They have planning officials. They also solicit and track funds available through state and federal grants, primarily federal grants. So they bring a lot of money and they help the counties secure those funds. But a lot of that happens out of the public arena. A lot of their transportation planning happens out of the public arena. And where this became most obvious is in the Clydesdale project, which is the data center in North Tulsa County.
Yes.
That's the name of that.
Just got approved, right?
Yes, kind of.
Yeah.
Of course, the latest thing on the Clydesdale project, something that was not known at the time their zoning was approved.
Budweiser doesn't approve it.
I didn't know about Budweiser having anything.
Boy, you are just on today.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. I can't. The Clydesdales.
Rim shot.
I appreciate that. I was
the
thinking
Clydesdale project. Okay, I'm sorry, but
I
continue.
haven't really seen the Clydesdales since Bud went gay. But
You're
anyway, back to Delaney or whatever.
So what came up since they got approved?
They have sent out notice to about, if I'm not mistaken, people within 600 feet of the development. They sent out notice to the people within 300 feet, talking about traffic and that they were going to have these public meetings and other kinds of things. But now they've sent out notices to people within 600 feet saying they wanted to come into their homes and photograph.
Oh, my God.
The reason for that is they're going to do blasting. They're going to use explosives.
Oh.
And so they want to check to make sure nobody claims damage that was there prior to the blasting. So they avoid paying any, suspect claims.
Yeah, from the injection wells 10 years ago.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But, there was another data center in the Sand Springs area, creatively named Springs. Not. And then there are 2 or 3 others in the area. Now, my question is, should we not adapt the most exciting possibility for data centers I have heard from anyone, which was Elon Musk saying, let's put them in space? It certainly saves the heat issue. Now, if they can get data up and down to space, certainly they do that with satellites. That would be a better plan. I think, I don't know, not an expert in the field, but the more we see these, what we know is big money comes in. They hire highly professional, skilled people to manipulate public opinion. To provide the, contact and to make sure everyone has a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA.
Oh, yeah.
And they put out those en masse prior to the events that are required by law to be public.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time they get to public, they are so far down the road of approval, it's very difficult to stop them.
Yeah.
And they do that deliberately.
Okay, let's take these 2 separate things. As far as the data centers go, the reason people will not, townships and councils are not so ready to approve them is because there's no money in it. Other than Elon making more money for these data centers he puts up into space. But just imagine the county, the city, whatever, the new jobs. And
what jobs?
Well, the jobs would come along for running the data center. Let me continue. And then the big thing with these is the taxes. The taxes they can levy on the employees and the companies that run these data centers. And so that to me is the big fight you're going to have in keeping these places from being accepted and approved by the townships.
Well, at the Clydesdale approval process at county meeting, we did have union workers show up and demand it be approved so that they could add additional jobs. But the point is, those were iron workers, construction
electricians,
people,
for sure.
Electricians.
Yeah.
But as far as operating a data center, you don't really do much after you turn the sucker off.
That's a good point. Right there.
So it is not long-term employment.
Exactly.
It is construction employment that fades quickly. The other thing is the question of what has our state legislature waived in the taxing environment that has made Oklahoma suddenly become so attractive to these people?
I could tell you several.
Well, what's that?
Well, first of all, having studied this for about 20 years, I was building superintendent for a big facility in Pryor, right next to Google. And one of the things, my boss, whose partner is on the Grand River Dam Authority board and the Mid-America Industrial Park board, he said, that's the cheapest electricity in America, is in the Grand River Dam area. So when Clydesdale came up, I looked at it, and you know what power line's going right over it? GRDA. So I think, I don't know. And I told our friend Darren Gantz, I said, find out if that's where they're getting their power, because one of the big complaints of neighbors is pulling on the power grid. So in answer to your question, why Oklahoma? At least with Google, that was it.
Well, here, let me throw a couple of things out, okay? Again, you may not have hundreds of employees, but someone has to run the data center. And there have to be employees. And I would bet you they're not cheap jobs.
And they're not Oklahomans.
They're Eddie, there's very few of them. When I was up there during the height of construction,
right,
over 500 pickups in their parking lot, pickups. And now maybe 40.
Okay. But that's 40 high paying jobs.
40.
And not only that, but you tax the entity.
Oh, your property tax, big time.
Property tax and business taxes and so forth.
The biggest thing is property tax.
Okay. So you've got that and what will happen.
But they waive those taxes. Officials do to get these facilities in.
They waive them for how long? You know, it's like, what do they call it? The taxes.
It's a sunset. Yeah.
Yeah. To build a mall.
And that's true. Google now, is paying for the Pryor School District. They're not getting state aid at Pryor School District.
Right. So that's the one thing that I deal with. The second thing is, now this is going to create even more uproar when it finally happens. The Grand River Dam, let's just say the river, and the hydropower is not going to be enough.
But
they're going to need. They're going because in my investments, I'm watching all of this, and they're coming up now with modular nuclear reactors, and
smaller natural gas as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
The big power plant right by Google, or 10 miles away, is natural gas.
Right, but it will eventually go to nuclear. The only reason you don't have the modular nuclear facilities now is because no one has actually, the plans are there. There's like 3 or 4 companies now that are working on it. One of them's got the full-on authority to do it and the government support. New Scale Power is the name of it. Yeah. And once those get done, now they say portable or small.
Well, yeah,
nuclear,
the Rolls-Royce.
They'll still be as big as this building times 3 or so.
Yeah, but they're modular. Rolls-Royce. Trump was really impressed with the Rolls-Royce nuclear facilities.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
As I said, these small nuclear modular reactors are going to eventually be needed because the hydroelectric power is just not enough. And the people are right to fear what's going to happen to their own electricity power when it starts being shared by these data centers.
Well, those concerns are based on operations of data centers in other parts of the country, where people have seen their electric bills go up. They've seen their water bills go up. And they haven't seen the benefit of employment significantly to justify that. Now, further, I would suggest that our rush to jump on, or the rush to jump on, because it's not necessarily ours or local, maybe the Chamber of Commerce's, but our rush to jump on that bandwagon underestimates the speed in which technology is making itself obsolete as new technology comes on board. So rather than fission, it may be fusion. Or the chips that they're using, quantum computing, and those kinds of chips will make data transfer and storage much more, much quicker and larger than it has been in the past. So my question is, do we have to follow the herd as they run off the cliff, or can we watch carefully and not maybe be the lemmings that big money and some of these folks would like for us to be?
The other issue is, or are we the NIMBYs? Not in my backyard. In other words, okay, everybody wants the benefits of the technology, but don't put it in my backyard.
That's where zoning comes in, which the Clydesdales just got approved.
Right. But so that's the argument. So the people, now, if all the people that live there and don't want this happening in their area, then if they will sign a thing that say we will not get the benefit of any power usage, that is, no, I'm just saying, I mean, that would quickly, okay, we're shutting down all your computers. There's no power to your area, so we can give it to the people over here.
No, that's
all of a sudden there'd be a sudden change.
Eddie, that's what shut Jane Fonda up. When a journalist came to her house, she's protesting nuclear facility in California. He walks in the room, turns a light off. She says, "Hey, turn that back on." Said, "That's coming from the nuclear plants that you oppose." Boom.
Well, yeah,
that shut her.
So,
Okay.
So I mean, I understand.
David's turn.
I understand the concern of the residents of that area. Okay, but what I'm saying is, it's got to happen somewhere.
Well, and I'm happy for it to be in your backyard.
Yeah, but I'd be happy too, but I'd tell them to shut yours down.
But yes,
no more computing, no more blogging for you.
Oh, there's where we're going.
Or in taxes, it would be said, "Don't tax me, tax that guy behind the tree."
Yeah, right.
Now, specifically on the Clydesdale project, that took or secured 500 acres on the edge between and on one side of it, it's a very nice residential area. On another side of it, it's light industrial. On the third side of it, it's an expressway corridor. And the final side is rural or farmland. Now, at what point did the area residents get to provide input on how that 500 acres should grow, whether it should be any one of the 3 or 4 options,
right? Rather
than light industrial, maybe more residential. If you have rooftops that are funded by regular salaries, then there's more economy growing than a data center, especially if taxes, land taxes have been waived, but even more significantly, and I would like to find this out, because have they waived sales taxes for some of these facilities? What a lot of people may not have thought about is those servers that are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they burn out in a couple of years. And to replace all of them in a data center, that's a $2 million deal.
Oh, yeah.
Using just, broad figures. But if they're paying taxes on that sales, that's one thing. That generates money into the economy. If they have been waived on those, then not so much. So I'm really trying to understand. And the problem is you need a very clever lawyer to read through the very clever contracts other lawyers have crafted for the wealthy who can afford extremely clever agreements that are in their best interest.
Yep.
Now, the lack of public discussion on zoning and planning is not just impactful in Tulsa County or with data centers. Planning is done in quiet little groups in every jurisdiction. Broken Arrow, Tulsa, all these areas. Now, at one point, INCOG did it for all of the cities, but then, of course, Tulsa had to have its own because, it's just Tulsa.
Is it Metropolitan Plan Commission?
Well, this is a web of interconnected organizations that execute a variety of functions, some of which are duplicated in the various offices.
Gotcha.
I was trying to make the point that, there was planning going on for the city of Tulsa, but they wanted to be in control of their planning. So they broke that out and duplicated the staff, and we pay for that.
Yep.
But, same thing for Broken Arrow. INCOG does a lot of planning for them. At what point was the planning for this mosque that we were talking about earlier, at what point was that really discussed in the overall broad concepts of what the city wants to be? If they're growing, and I got on 71st Street and went east and past Broken Arrow and was amazed at how much that area is building out.
Amazing.
Now, the street right in front of where this proposed mosque would be is only a 2-lane road.
Where is this now?
Yeah, tell us where.
Where exactly?
Blah, 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 blah.
So you're saying it's on Kenosha, but way out east?
No. It's Olive, maybe? Right by the expressway.
By the creek. That's what I was thinking. Okay, but see, here's the problem. Olive is not. It's where's the movie theater? What's that movie theater?
Yeah, the Warren.
The Warren.
Yeah, that's between. No, that's the other side of Aspen and Elm.
No, it's the other side of the creek.
Olive would be where the casino venture got shut down, right?
Years ago.
111th and Olive. That was that area.
I would.
Olive is
certainly,
what, 129th or 145th? No,
129th.
129th. Okay.
I'm a Midtown Tulsa boy. I don't. That was farmland when I grew up.
I used the numbers because that was the county road system.
And I love Broken Arrow. How many names for one street can you have?
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you, there's a very simple way where it can be a win-win for the city council.
Okay.
Of Broken Arrow.
Rave on.
Noise ordinances. See, the big problem, you probably read about Plano, Texas.
Yes.
Okay, Plano, Texas did this very thing, built a mosque in it. And so what's happening in the community now, all through the night,
and he's speaking in tongues.
And no, that's a Muslim call to prayer.
Yeah.
And you got people waking up in the middle of the night to this. So what happens, this is the way Islam is taking over America. So what happens then, the residents are freaking out saying, I can't put up with this. So more Muslims move in, buy the property, take it, and it just boom, boom. Now you've got an entire Muslim community within a community, and they're starting to have their own Sharia law, their Sharia police, they're this, like in Detroit and other cities. And now you've got a problem on your hands that you should have seen coming. Either you ignored it or you were too dumb to see what was going to happen. So the city council of Broken Arrow needs to grow a pair and just stand up and say, not in our neighborhood. Now, or the way you can do it, you can build your mosque, but no call to prayer. That's what I would
using the noise ordinance.
Now we've got.
I guarantee you, they won't build it if you tell them you can't do that.
Well, and I'm not sure whether they have made an agreement not to, have a big call to prayer.
Oh no,
not.
I guarantee you they haven't made any agreement. What I'm saying is that would be a way to stop it.
Trying to say is that there is, I think, Muslim school and mosque,
Dove Academy or Peace Academy,
Dove Academy, yeah. Or Dove Peace Academy, and maybe we're both of it there, right behind or near the Skelly Expressway.
Sure.
But that brings up kind of a broader concept. Is Islam a religion?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is.
Well,
I think it's a heresy.
Yeah. He was going somewhere I wanted to follow up when I get a chance with you. Is Eddie he wasn't around for this. But I have not seen the idea of a judge shutting down a business as a public nuisance since Chi-Chi's Restaurant for their flagrant violation of our liquor laws. Back before you could have liquor by the drink. They got busted so many times. Remember that, David? Okay. David was probably one of us. No, I don't know. But
I was hanging out at other clubs.
Okay. But I don't even know if that's a possibility. At what point does an entity such as this mosque violate over and over and over again that a judge sanctions as I am condemning the property?
It would definitely be a money-making proposition for the Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
Because if you fine them, $50,000 for every violation, after a while, I don't care how many pockets you have, but it's going to get to them after a while.
Yeah. But when there's a meth house in a neighborhood, such as got pretty close to us, the county condemned it and boarded up, and people still busted in there. They haul them off to jail.
The funniest story on that, to support your assertion there, was when I lived downtown. Mm-hmm. And I had a loft that was a lot of fun. Joined it for a long time, basically from 2000 to 2012. So for a dozen years, lived downtown. And it was right across the street from something called the Tower View Apartments. And it was such a dive that crack house, a whorehouse, I don't know how nasty it could be, but it was right there. It was on Cheyenne, between 2nd and 3rd.
Oh, okay.
And contiguous on the south of that building was the parking lot for the Tulsa World newspaper. And they parked there for 30 years, apparently without noticing it was a den of iniquity. That's what you call investigative reporting at the Tulsa World. When they finally did notice, they sent had to be a young reporter, over to rent a room there and document the rats and the bugs and the bad behavior and all of that. And then it was eventually shut down. But the funniest thing, I did a story on the day center for the homeless and was talking to them, told them where I lived. Oh, the Tower View? I said, yes, across the street from it there on Cheyenne, the right side of the street as opposed to that. And the lady that was running the day center said she actually kicked a homeless person out of the day center for the homeless. Now, think about how bad your behavior has to be before you get kicked out of the day center for the homeless. And he apparently immediately walked over the Tower View and got a job managing the place.
That's funny. Hey, I do want to get back to, because we haven't finished on these data centers. My radar goes up on two things. I want to bounce it by David. First of all, I'm locked in because of where my home is, that I get my electricity from PSO, Public Service Company of Oklahoma. A lot of Oklahoma's under Oklahoma Gas and Electric, OG&E, right? But the people who live out in that area near Pryor and kind of eastward, they get the cheapest rates of electricity. Incredibly cheap, because Grand River Dam Authority doesn't pay taxes. They are a government trust. And that's an inequity I really have a problem with. So going to this and following those power lines, my suspicion is that at some point they're going to suck that cheap power coming right overhead here to Clydesdale and some of the others. That would be one thing. But let's set that aside and assume they're going with the same PSO or OG&E. And all of a sudden, those corporations have to ramp up, construct new facilities and everything. What if it turns into a black box that gets shut down? Who absorbs the cost of a failed construction?
Well, that's what you put into a contract. When you do a contract, you say right from the onset that you are responsible.
That assumes we don't have graft going on. Because believe me, it goes on.
Yeah, but okay.
It's called re-election campaign funds.
Well, okay, but that's where the due diligence comes in.
Yeah.
Really, from the public.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and it's so funny to me that the Broken Arrow issue is a much greater issue than the data center issue long term. Because like it or not, we are moving to a place where we've got to have these data centers. They're more, not less. Or you give up these. You give up. You give up these. You know, and people aren't going to want to do that, but they still want to have. I'll give you an example. We were trying to put together a charter school. Mm-hmm. Okay, and charter school. We're working on, and then also, I don't know if you remember, probably 10 years ago, maybe a little more, they were wanting to move the juvenile detention facility
out on Charles Page,
right? Mm-hmm. But before that, we found the perfect place, which was Roosevelt School. Roosevelt Elementary. Do you know where that is? Yeah. Beautiful area, really. And the building's beautiful, and they had other buildings. We were going to put dorms in and have them build it out. Mm-hmm. And it was a perfect facility to do this. Well, of course, the NIMBYs attacked us, mm-hmm. saying, not in my backyard. You can't do it here. We did it. And John Brock, he decided to do another school, which was the School of Fine Arts. And so I remember, no, we want the School of Fine Arts. We're going to put this school. I don't know if the School of Fine Arts ever got built, ever got in there or not, but it's the same thing. The people, you're concerned about juvenile crime, but don't do anything to help them in my neighborhood. And you're always going to have that. So what we have to do is make up our minds. What are we willing to give up? Either progress, we want to be a part of the new age of electronics, of computing, et cetera, et cetera. If that's the case, you're going to have to be starting to put up with some different. I guarantee you, back when they were building cars, probably the people in Detroit didn't want them building factories in their area because it would disturb them, and they didn't want to be disturbed. So that's something that has to be waived, okay, or weighed, yes. Right, weighed with each other. And like it or not, the only thing that bothers me is if people get away with saying not in our neighborhood, but put it in their neighborhood. That's the only thing. That's where I have the problem.
Well, I'm to the point actually of considering moving to another city because I never wanted to be under the authority of a communist mayor.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and Tulsa has in Monroe Nichols a socialist Democrat. And if you vote for socialism.
But is this a city or a county thing? Are the commissioners.
I'm talking slightly a different subject. I'm basically saying,
that's what I was going to say.
We have a mayor who believes that public housing is a core government service, that everybody should be afforded a home. Now, he also, as he was campaigning, told me and told others that he didn't want to be known as a reparations mayor. And the first thing he did in office was advance the reparation process.
I know.
So, like most communists, they are empowered to lie to the opponents because that's what they do. It's approved.
Right.
And they also have that in common with Muslims.
But that's a different issue.
I'm jumping around here. I'm just trying to put a little humor in this.
No, I understand. But listen, I don't want to get away from this. It's almost like we're trying to get away. I am concerned about this Islamic center and mosque in Broken Arrow because that you can see it's happened in other cities. That's what is happening. They will infiltrate an area, build a mosque, start having the call of prayer in the middle of the night. And I don't know if you've been reading the articles, but they're actually harassing the neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
So they're harassing them big time and driving them out. Then the neighbors are selling their properties at a lower value.
Oh, yeah.
And then here comes some more Muslims moving in the area. Next thing you know, you've got an entire ethnic population within a certain area, and it gets dangerous. Next thing you know, they'd be like the police up there in Michigan, wearing Arabic. The cars have Arabic written on them. You don't even realize you're in America. Same in Minneapolis, your city.
My city.
Little Mogadishu up there, And
how many billions can you steal?
I know.
Michigan or Minnesota.
Well, let's hold that thought because that's a whole subject in itself. But I'm just saying we need the citizens of Broken Arrow to say, no, not on my watch. We will fight this vigorously. I mean, we've got to stop the encroachment upon our culture by these. Now, if they say we won't have a call to prayer, we're not going to have a call to prayer, then okay. But if you start doing it, I mean, the reason I'm saying that is because that seems to me to be a legitimate way out.
If I may rant for a minute.
Please.
Thank you.
Rant on.
Hopefully it'll be a rational rant, but here we go. If Islam is not a religion and it's a cult, then the idea that they should be afforded protection when in fact they are at least have terrorist cult members within it, that becomes an issue. When they want Sharia law, which is contrary to the Constitution of the United States and civilized people everywhere, we could go through the disagreements, but I don't want the listener to think that I am in any way prejudiced against those who are Muslim, because that's where Christians get convert from.
Thank you.
And I was reading a story in the Jerusalem Post this morning where a Persian from a child of Iran that had been educated in the West says that most Muslims are born into that faith. And once that occurs, of course, it is, they consider it an action of apostate to leave the Muslim faith. And if you leave the Muslim faith, then they want to kill you. That's why it's not a religion. It's not voluntary. Further, of course, because I believe in the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, that means I am not just a person of the book, I am an infidel, and they are required to kill me. Now, you know, these things at some point as a culture we're going to have to, come to grips with.
Right.
But we can see in Europe what the National Democratic Party is trying to do to America.
The American Nazi Party, really.
I'm sorry.
National.
Yeah,
it's
National
actually the
Democrat.
Democratic Socialist.
I guess.
Nazi stands for National Socialist, by the way.
Yes, but
I'm going to continue.
But that party, whatever it's named, I call it the Deviant Party, the Deviant Democrats, want to replace the population of America like the population of Europe has been replaced. Now, they are so far down the road, they're having serious issues. And Eddie, you might be able to speak of that from your friendship of those people in Germany that you may know. But these are things that we as a society should consider at some point in some forum. But after the October 7th massacre of Israelis, the invasion by Palestinians, I called the Tulsa Metropolitan Ministry to see if some of their members wanted to talk about that, and nobody did. And I asked them, well, you have imams or Muslim preachers also in your group. Have they issued any condemnation of this? And they go, well, no, they haven't. Now, when terrorists dance in the street and hand out candy for the 9/11 attacks, then you've got to wonder, how much grace do we give someone who is literally out to kill us?
Well, see, they don't see it as a crime, a sin, or whatever. It's them fulfilling their duty as a good Muslim.
Yeah.
And there's the disconnect that this faith is so basically deviant to even natural law that you would kill somebody that doesn't agree with you or that has a different. Basically, what you're saying is my faith is not strong enough to withstand anybody talking about their faith, which to me is just a coward's faith. It's a faith of cowards. I'll just say it. And if you can't defend your faith against another faith, I think, we talked about it. I took the course Kingdom of the Cults under Walter Martin, Dr. Walter Martin. Well, not doctor, but Professor Walter Martin. Anyway, and we used to go and protest in front of Mormon temples in Los Angeles, the big Mormon temple. And they would just go nuts, they would get mad at us and all. But we were calling them on the fact that they believed black people couldn't get into heaven. That was part of the faith back then. And then all of a sudden, their bishops and prophet of the day decided, God changed his mind.
What do you know?
He changed his mind. You black people are now welcome, but what I'm saying is Mormons don't offer a physical threat to America. Okay. If it's an argument of theology, then let's go on, let's argue, let's get down and wrestle intellectually or philosophically or theologically. Let's do that. But when you start pointing a gun at me and saying, you will believe, you will observe, no, I'm sorry. Homie, don't play that.
Yeah.
Well, now the Muslims would offer that they certainly allow in Islamic State countries
That's true.
for other faiths to live, but you have to pay a tax.
Mhm.
But there is
But wait, Dave,
the
but it
devil
goes
is
beyond
in
that.
the detail.
Right. It goes beyond. You're not allowed to proselytize.
Yeah.
No.
You're allowed to go to your church, but you cannot speak to anyone else about your faith.
Well, and that's, I certainly do not disagree with that. But what I was trying to make the difference is that as long as you're a mediocre participant in Christianity
Mhm.
or Judaism,
Mhm.
that's okay. They call those people the book.
Mhm.
But if you are a firm believer, then you were an infidel,
Mhm.
and you were called by the Muslim text to die.
Yeah.
Now, but the problem is there is such a wide range. There are liberal Muslim households, and very conservative Muslim households. And what the writer, the guy from Iran was talking about, and talk about news, Iran looks to be collapsing daily. They don't have water in their cities. There is a drought going on. They have all kinds of unrest, and they were shown to be paper tigers after Israel took out the majority of their military, and the U.S. took out their nuclear program.
Yeah.
But what he's saying is that Muslims are as plentiful as the grass. But the snake in the grass of the radical Islam, the militant Islam, it continues to be a problem. But in Oklahoma, we have for many years at the state capitol celebrated a day for CAR, which is the Council of Islamic American Relations. And there's an Oklahoma chapter of that.
Yeah.
And they put on a legislative day.
Yeah.
And they sing and dance or whatever they do. But Texas has identified that, and other states are moving towards recognizing that the funding mechanism for CAR is the CARE. Do they call it CARE or CAR?
Yeah, CARE.
CARE.
That's what I'm used to.
Okay. The funding mechanism for them is the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the terrorist money bags
Of Egypt.
Yeah. and other places. This is something that we have to look at here. I mean, we've had terrorist attacks planned out of Oklahoma City. An Afghan was going to, shoot up the polling places.
Yeah.
Because, you can't have people voting in a free society, apparently. That's contrary to Islam. And yet, because they are empowered and directed by their faith to lie, how can you talk to them or reason with them about anything?
Yeah. I want to say, I agree with everything both you men are saying. In India, or I'll say at least in a good part of India, it is now a capital offense to change from the religion to which you were born into. Okay. In other words, we were all chattel slaves at birth to a religion, according to this ideology. And
That's Hindu.
yes.
It's not Islamic.
Okay. But here's the thing I'm getting at. And am I on here? I'm going to bump myself up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah, you're good.
You're off.
I'm
But
off, yeah.
okay. It is not what we're saying about the Islamic groups is not unique or exclusive to them. It was also, the French Inquisition. If you weren't Catholic enough, they went after you. And it's a carnal godlessness in the name of God. And I'm one who, as a proponent for a Jeffersonian view of liberty and freedom. What difference does it make if my neighbor believes in one God or 20? It neither breaks my leg nor picks my pocket.
Thomas Jefferson also, as president, did a deep dive because we were, as a nation, suffering attacks by the Barbary pirates.
Yes.
And in his deep dive into Islam, he reviewed it thoroughly and then declared war on them.
Particularly the piracy, I think, was where he really went after him.
Yeah, but as long as a faith is not militant, then that's one thing. But that's why I suspect that a member of the media and I were talking, a leftist member of the media.
Are there any of the kind?
Yeah, I know. And I reached out to him because I knew him and we'd played music together and worked together in one of the stations here. And, I told him, I check in once every couple of years, whatever. I called him, said hello, and you would know him and everybody would know him on air. But I prefer not to identify him directly because I admitted to him I was still a conservative. And he went off on me. Talked about, well, you probably don't know anything about trans. I go, well, yeah, I've met a few, talked to them. Oh, they're wonderful people. I said, I disagree. We talked about some other issues. And finally, I brought up the point that communism and Islam are both the same because they are both empowered, their ideology, to deceive and lie until they get their way. And he goes, well, David, did you know that my grandson's been being raised a Muslim? And I did my best to try and not make it worse, but out of my mouth came the words, oh, I'm sorry. He did not take that one.
That was a violent statement.
That wasn't passionate enough.
Apparently. I was kind of proud I didn't say, well, I hope he doesn't behead you, but, so these are our neighbors. And if they're peaceful, that's one thing. But in Christian faith, when we've had extremists, the faith itself, the faithful itself, let me say it that way. The faithful policed their own. I don't see that in Islam. I see them ignoring the worst of their characters, if not empowering and funding them. And that, again, makes me deny that it is a faith, rather it's a cult. And it's an abusive cult to women. It's an abusive cult to children. It's an abusive cult in promoting slavery. It is an abusive cult in its attacks upon other cultures. And therefore, it is a danger. Now, I can turn both cheeks, but my Savior turned over the temple, the tables in the temple.
Fair point.
When they were damaging his faith. And it is appropriate for us not to be enraged, but to exercise discernment. And we are called to do that. And that's something we as a culture are going to have.
I have a solution, again, as far as like, if the city is not going to enforce noise ordinances, then what churches should do, one of the churches up there right off the turnpike, is play To Hell with the Devil by Stryper at 3 a.m. and face it towards the mosque. Because it's a religious song. It's a religious song, and you got that one, Res Band. You can play all of Res Band stuff, and so many. To me, there is a way to fight this. If we really want to get, because see what you were saying about the Islamic ability to lie. And do underhanded things because they think it's ethically good to do anything as long as the end result is what you want.
Yeah.
So we're just going to practice what they want us to do.
What I want to say here is this intolerance now that we're seeing globally. It isn't just amongst what we traditionally call religion. A young woman at Brown University evidently was targeted because she's conservative.
Right.
I don't know that is a religion unless you admit that this woke, globalist, leftist, radical ideology is for all intents and purposes just bad.
Why is Christianity seen as evil and intolerant when that religion is the most intolerant?
There's always been pot calling the kettle black.
Well, no,
I'm just saying, when can we get back to a place of mutual goodwill that our nation was founded on?
You cannot do it with that belief. It's so ingrained into them that death to the infidel. That is a spiritual death. We want to kill their faith and everything that would.
Yeah, we kind of forced the Mormons that way 100 years ago.
Right, but then now it's to the point of we're going to do it physically.
If I could interject a little bit of fact, the concept that allows Muslims to lie, deceive, or hide their belief if it helps spread Islam or protect its agenda is spelled Taqiyya. Not sure how you would pronounce that. Taqiyya?
Sounds close to tequila.
I wish that would be much more entertaining.
Maybe it's tequila.
Yeah, but that is their concept.
Yeah.
You're allowed to lie if it's for good.
Yes.
Where Paul said in his epistle, shall I sin that good might result? No. Yeah.
No, you don't do that. Yeah. But then again, and kind of back to y'all's point, there is a militant secular humanist approach. Now, at this event in Broken Arrow, to return to that subject, there was a transsexual woman with purple hair, as I remember it, maybe blue, odd color, that spoke in favor of how sweet the Muslims had been to her.
She part of Lesbians for Allah?
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I was sitting there just stunned. I'm going, that's like chickens protesting for Colonel Sanders.
Yeah.
What part of that's not going to work for you in the long run?
That's
at least Chick-fil-A has Holstein cows. So you eat more chicken.
It's kind of these chickens are.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, good. I think we covered that story here. We're coming up on the hour. I don't know if we want to take a break or anything else, David. Pitch your latest story and where you publish it too.
Well, there are always ongoing stories on TulsaToday.com, which is the conservative alternative to the leftist media caca that is distributed in this community otherwise, but on Substack. And it's Straight Up is the name of the Substack site. You can also find it with arnett.substack.com. But I wrote about Tulsa Classical Academy.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a blow up because the board set aside public comment. And one of the groups in town, Moms for Liberty, Tulsa County, issued a press release that objected to that. And on Tulsa Today, I covered that, but then began looking into it in more depth and had a chance to speak with their headmaster, which are principal, as well as some of the staff and also the president of their board. And that story, it's a long read. It is a long-form journalism story, but goes into the difference between classical education and modern education. For those that cherish education, it would be a story worth your time. Now, it's too long to put on Tulsa Today. In the age of attention deficit disorder, that we have adopted. I try and keep stories on Tulsa Today around 800, maximum 1,500 words. And the Substack story on Tulsa's Classical Academy came out at 3,000. And I tried to shut it down and try and made it tighter.
Let me ask you, Dave,
So
bottom line, what do you think of the Academy? Do you think it's... is it positive? Is your view more positive or more negative?
I went in a little predisposed because as a national awarded First Amendment advocate, I typically stand with transparency and public accountability. And while this is a public charter school,
Yep.
it is it doesn't receive local or state funds.
Oh.
It does not.
Mm.
Now, a private, and it receives less than private school choice parents receive. Its board is a governance board. It's not an elected board. It is a governance board to maintain the standards of a classical education, which are more rigorous. And the board president explained, not everyone thinks their very young children should sit in a chair with their back to the back of the chair and do their work. Some want, them to lay on the floor on a play mat and use crayons. That's not what the Classical Academy
No, it's very
goes
strict.
at. It's very strict.
And where do they get their money? That's what I hear. You told me where they're not.
Well, they do some extraordinary fundraising events and other kinds of things to raise money.
So there's benefactors.
And it would take me a little bit, but I could find where in the story they talked about that.
Yeah.
Or we talked about that. But I would encourage the people to read it and see what they think.
And here's the other thing. Most of the charter schools we saw early on, like 90s and after, had to be sponsored, typically by a public school, right?
Well, that's part of what we go into here, because there is now a charter school board that relieves a organization or school from having a sponsor. Now, that was not an operation when the Tulsa Classical Academy was set up. And they have a sponsor of Rose State College.
Okay.
But then again, so did Epic Charter Schools.
Right.
And some other folks. And what the chairman or the president of the board said was that Rose State essentially, all they do is provide an invoice. Now, the Hillsdale affiliation is more significant to their daily operation, because they do require to be affiliated with Hillsdale that education be classical.
Yeah.
So their standards, and this is Tulsa Classical Academy is the only classical public school in Oklahoma. Now, that's significant for parents that want their children to excel in life. Teaching them first the rote memorization that is required in phonics and in math and other basics to begin with, and then you start questioning why, and then you move on to logic and wisdom to try and figure out how these things impact other things.
So bottom line is, you came out fairly positive.
I came out far more positive than I expected. And there is a governance on Tulsa Classic Academy. Their governance board is responsive. They have laid out, what was happening with public comment, and this happens, I think, in a lot of organizations. According to the Open Records Act, and Open Meetings Act, you cannot, as a board, you cannot have a discussion that's not on the agenda.
Mhm.
So in the public context, in public comment time, people would go to the board and make a public comment, for example, that might criticize harshly one teacher, without any restrictions that they go to the teacher first and try and resolve the issue, or that they go to the headmaster or the principal and try and resolve the issue. Now they have set up a procedure, by email and by contacts where, where those issues can be resolved prior to demonization in public.
That sounds biblical.
It's scary when that happens, isn't it?
Those darn Christians.
Darn Christians trying to put morality and everything is just remarkable.
Last thing I want to ask, what's the annual?
It's never the last thing you want to ask.
Yeah, the last.
I'm sorry, I know you.
Boom, you found me. What is the annual subscription rate to your Substack?
Annual, I think it's like $7 a month.
Yeah. Okay.
You can do that monthly.
And this is the kind of deep dive without commercials. Like you go to KOTV.com, you got to watch 3 commercials before you get a 1-minute story.
If I can rant on this topic that you raise, what drives me crazy is when I'm trying to read a news site online and you have pop-up ads and pop-over ads and all of it, and you're trying to get those out of the way to get back to
and you
the
always
paragraph.
Accidentally hit one and it opens up.
And then you go. And TulsaToday.com, established in 1996, is one of the oldest independent local news services in the world. Of course, because I'm conservative, no other media wants to cover that. But that's why I'm the most famous journalist no one has ever heard of. But we write in a format that doesn't have pop-up ads.
Right.
We have display graphics on either side of the page, but the main column does not do that.
Yeah.
We also don't capture people's email or other kinds of things. Which
maybe you should.
Probably. I am not gifted in business. I am gifted in pontificating.
And smelling the rat, right?
I thought I was
exposing the rat.
I was in good company in this crowd, so there you go.
All right.
But Substack or Tulsa Today, either one. Now, probably on the Tulsa Classical Academy, what I'm going to do is try and get a very brief summation and put it on Tulsa Today to give people.
That's smart business model too.
And I will do that. But the other thing that I will share with you is that I am moving into the podcast area.
There you go.
I have been
aboard.
So impressed with fresh black coffee that I am inspired.
You want to give them some stale milk.
As if anyone ever needs another podcast in the world. I am going to pontificate and opine, but actually the funny thing is I am less and less interested in my own opinions and more interested in the opinions of others.
Well, that's growth, David.
So every once in a while, it took me a few decades, but I'm interested in bringing in and interviewing people.
Good.
And I do believe I have a well-established knack for asking difficult questions to people who want to know how to answer.
I mean, you definitely have the contacts over all the decades.
It's not necessarily true, but there is some rumor out that I helped Noah with his garage sale before the flood.
All right.
All right. That's my cue right there to
we'll take a break and reset.
Ready on the right, ready on the left, and we are black. I'm sorry, we are back.
That's right.
All right, Dave. Hey, listen, something that has been in the forefront for a couple of weeks now, but it's really getting bigger and bigger and worse. And that is the TPUSA versus Candace Owen deal, or Erica.
Conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk's death.
Right.
If he is dead.
Oh, okay. Well, so he's JFK now, or Abraham Lincoln, or some of these people that
Who knows?
somebody saw. Elvis. I saw Elvis last night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dave. By the way, I just want to throw this out there. The Justice Department finally released the new Epstein files, including photos of celebrities.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
I know that's what's so bad about it.
Yeah, Bill Clinton's in a swimming pool with babes, right?
Well, and men. No, just him and buddies, doing what men do when they want to do it.
I heard he's in the pool with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, yeah, but Jelaine is not one of the 16-year-old, or that's what everybody's really waiting on, the really salacious stuff, and I don't know.
It's very simple. Those young women have had press conferences. They've told their stories.
Yeah.
But we don't want to just go with their narrative. We want to find out.
Yeah, and you still got the mad cows of the world and those who listen to her, who want to sit there and they don't believe that every young woman that was there and everything tells you Trump was never there, never saw Trump. And the ones that did have interaction with him on an airplane or wherever at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, it was other stateside.
Right, stateside.
Events, public events.
And they all said he was the perfect gentleman. He was the nicest guy, da-da-da.
And these are big society events.
Right.
That everybody knows about.
Right. And yet the left, the skunks of the media world just won't accept that. No, he's got to have done something. He did. It reminds me, did we ever we talked about Moms Mabley before, right? She's an older, she's passed away now, but she was one of the main black comedians back on what they call the Chitlin circuit. And Moms Mabley talked about a young black person getting a trial down in Alabama back in the 50s or 60s.
Okay.
And the judge said, the guy says, Your Honor, I just hope I can get a fair trial. He says, boy, we's going to give you a fair trial. You can count on us giving you a fair trial, and then we'll hang you. That's kind of...
we shouldn't laugh, but it's funny.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how certain people have gotten to the point where, we'll give Trump a fair hearing. Yeah. Then we're going to go ahead and
it's like
condemn
somebody else says, my mind's made up. Quit confusing me with facts.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, but tell us about TPUSA.
Well, of course, Erica Kirk, in an attempt to kind of make for a better atmosphere at this big event. It's one of the biggest events that TPUSA does. When the college kids get out for holiday break, that last weekend before Christmas, they always do this event. Mm-hmm. And it's a big event. And this one, sold out. Erica said, Candace, let's you and I talk, just you and I. And they both posted afterwards, very productive meeting. This is about middle of the week this week.
And then 2 days later.
Yeah. So Candace now, I'm watching on citizenfreepress.com. She's renewed her claim that Israel orchestrated the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. No, I know. she is just basically back up on everything she said.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. This is backing up a little bit. When Charlie died at his funeral, they said, you think you got rid of Charlie Kirk? No. You just made a million more Charlie Kirks. Well, that's nice to say, but the reality is, in conservative media, there aren't any other Charlie Kirks.
No. It's like, is there another Rush Limbaugh?
Yeah.
Have you, how far down the road are we? 6 months now?
And so Charlie Kirk had this incredible ability to maintain a productive, cordial, respectful relationship with just about all of them. And he started out throwing Alex Jones under the bus, but he, to his credit, humbly said, I was wrong. I thought I was saving myself by cheering on throwing Alex under the bus when they canceled him. I didn't know they were going to cancel all of us, and stuff. So Charlie's remained friends with so many people. And to that end, several of them were on the platform this weekend. Ben Shapiro ripped into Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson responded back. Well, guess what? Last night, Steve Bannon, he launched. And boy, did he go after Shapiro. Little Benny Shapiro, I mean, he pulled his inner Donald Trump. And I've never seen Shapiro so ripped apart because, Bannon says, look, Shapiro's always been an ever-Trumper. Always. He tepidly said, yeah, he's the lesser of two evils. But he says he's never been in America first. He's been Israel first his whole life. That's his identity. Mm-hmm. And so it's, I'm still absorbing it this morning. I go, well, this is not letting up. What Erica did, organize a meeting with Candace, she's to be commended for. And it will now serve as a testimony against them. She did everything she could.
You mean against Candace and that group of people?
And Candace and everything that represents is, right. I think she tried to represent her husband well and saying, look, we're not the enemy to each other. You and I agree more than we disagree. And let's remember who we're fighting against.
Here's the deal. Here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it to you, people, our audience. Candace Owens has been, is, and always will be about Candace Owens. Mm-hmm. She has this need to be the HNIC. Mm-hmm.
The Omarosa.
And I'll let you figure out what the N and H head in charge is, okay? Mm-hmm. But, and it's just her personality. Mm-hmm. Years ago, not that many years, a few years ago, 2, 3, there was a young black woman. Did we talk about this last week or before?
Well, we've covered this story a few times, but it keeps developing.
About Kim Klacik.
You mentioned that.
Okay. There was, she became popular for a minute when she was running for Congress from Baltimore.
Yeah, Maryland, that's right.
Right. And so she was, great ad, one of the best ads ever. And she was getting some real notoriety, becoming popular. She was on Fox and Newsman everywhere, Kim Klacik, a lot of support. Mm-hmm. And Candace comes out and accuses her of having been a prostitute and her husband, her pimp.
Yep.
And so Candace is just going on basically to destroy this woman who's trying to run for the House as a conservative Republican in an all Democratic, and it's like Moms Mabley again. I'm quoting the great philosopher Moms Mabley. I need to look some of these up and just play them. But Moms Mabley had a saying that basically, Candace, if you see me and a bear in a fight, help the bear.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing, because Candace is, and she sounds so good. And here's the other thing, and I've seen it. In fact, we've seen it recently in the Tulsa Republican Men's Club. Mm-hmm. You have certain conservatives that want so badly to look non-biased, non-prejudiced, that they want to throw some black person out there and make them, show, hey, see, we're not prejudiced. We're behind this black person supporting her. Yep. And you've got people that so badly want to support Candace because she's on our side.
Yep.
And let me tell you, it's like God told Elijah when he was hiding from Jezebel.
Mm-hmm.
He said there are thousands of other prophets in Israel.
Yeah.
14,000, I believe he said, in Israel. There are thousands of hardworking, really right on, really straight, well-meaning, intelligent black conservatives out there, mm-hmm. and young ones that have much more to offer than Candace Owen does.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I have not been a Candace Owen fan almost from the beginning, because I just discerned there's something not right about her. There's something not right. And I wish someone would do a deep dive into her background, where she came from, what's her background, her parents, her upbringing, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw this, that she was a Democrat up until just shortly before she met Charlie Kirk. She just decided one day to switch. Why did she switch? Was he trying to be somebody in the party and they weren't buying it? So she figured out that she could be somebody on the Republican side. So, mm-hmm. But I mean, honestly, right now, she's not helping. She's not helping. And supporters of her she's basically destroying the ministry of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
She said, oh, Charlie was my friend. Charlie I helped him pick out when he was going on a date. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that video? Her talking about how she helped Charlie pick out his outfit to go on a date with somebody. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Erica, but mm-hmm. She literally can't stand Erica. Mm-hmm. Because Erica basically stole Charlie from her.
Yeah.
Not necessarily romantically, but she, she had Charlie's ear, and all of a sudden here's this other woman that has his mm-hmm. ear, and she basically stifled her mm-hmm. outreach, her reach. And so, but I will say this, she's making a lot of bucks right now on her podcast, because everybody wants to hear what Candace says. Mm-hmm. But I predict within a year, 2 years, she'll have burnt out and she will be a byword.
Have you heard from Ann Coulter lately?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. She'll be another Ann Coulter, yeah.
Yeah. You have to top the last sensationalism with something even bigger.
Right.
And it's that. But the other thing, and without mentioning names, you and I have seen a lot of people, men and women, that in their quest to rise for prominence and power in the political sphere, they try to gain allies, but quickly want to turn that ally into a controlled tool. And once they can't control you anymore, they have to destroy you. If they can't control you, they destroy you. Mm-hmm. And you don't even necessarily have to have any threat to them. Right. If they see you as a potential threat, they will preemptively destroy you. Mm-hmm. I've seen people try to do that to me, and it doesn't work. I remember you ended up in the middle of something with your radio station because they didn't like who you interviewed on your own, And I wrote to you, I said, Eddie, they don't win unless you stop. Don't stop. And I said, you still got your blog, you still got other things. And then I remember a few years later, I was saying, Eddie, you really need to podcast. And I think I said a few times.
I do remember that. Yeah, you telling me that.
And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, you went on my New Black Thought site. Remember?
Yeah.
The blog, and you said, "Well, let me help you get that out." Mm-hmm. And is that my phone or yours? Oh, it's yours. Yeah. Anyway, and you took that blog and disseminated it.
Yeah, I put it on the Student Politics platform.
Right. So, but and what's funny, I will never forget. Some of you have heard the story about how Dave and I came to really become acquainted was he was a huge Ted Cruz fan.
Yeah, I was just right there with Ben Shapiro.
And I was on the other side with, first Ben Carson, but then and Cruz was second. Trump was like number 6 on my list. And then I totally changed early and saw that Donald Trump was the guy. And I used to, we'd had so much fun. I love poking the bear, just messing with people on Facebook. You know, I'm sitting there laughing. My wife knows it. You know, she sees me there and she just shakes her head. But
he beats on me and his wife laughs.
Well, no, she's laughing. She's laughing at me, shaking her head.
Okay, it's the condescending laugh.
Why,
like, Eddie,
why are you?
pathetic.
Why? What are you doing? Why are you? You know. And,
there you go.
You know, and like
I knew that. I just had to get that out.
My big critic was like, she'll tell me, you said that where she's the biggest critic is, I go too fast and I don't proofread. I never go back and reread what I wrote, which is, and so it's rife with mistakes. I mean, you know that.
Well, you know what you meant.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, I've gotten so good that others now know what I mean. Because they're responding to stuff, you know, and I'm looking at it and says, what moron wrote this later? You know, I said, what was I trying to say? Yet people are answering it.
Yeah, I remember that happened one time with my mom. You know, I was just stunned at something she said. And I just said, you literally, she said, well, you know what I meant. You
know, but anyway, excuse me. I did I? No. What in the heck? Oh, okay. Yeah, I shut myself out. But anyway, yeah, it's just this whole situation now. I mean, if you're like me on Facebook, you got so many people now. It's become almost Candace versus TPUSA. And see, here's how I look at it. Okay, this is kind of like the Jesus conspiracy. Jesus didn't really raise from the dead; they just conspired. Well, for them to have, and them keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You've got basically the entire staff, the executive staff, and others of TPUSA, Turning Point USA, by the way, conspiring to cover up that Charlie Kirk was murdered by the Mossad, or this or that, and they're now covering this up. Oh, and because here's the other thing. This is the latest one. No one knows where he's buried. Erica is chosen. She came out and said, this is for my family. It's sacred to my family. I'm not going to have people come and desecrate, because you can see people graffiti tagging his headstone, digging up his grave, or doing, you know, just craziest stuff. So for that reason, she doesn't want to give the whereabouts of his body.
If I could give some insight on that, I used to set monuments in cemeteries right out of high school. And, you know, people die all year, and it's several months before that monument order gets done. I mean, they're carving stone, granite, right? And then in Minnesota, you got to wait till spring thaw to go out there and pour the concrete platform, the base, you know, for, and set it up. And we'll go there, and a lot of the cemeteries will have this just little marker, or sometimes it's blown away or washed away by then. But so for that first 6-8 months, typically, the only people who know where Uncle Tom is buried.
You have to use Uncle Tom.
Uncle Timmy. Okay. Whatever. The only people who know are immediate family. You know, so, or you had to have been invited to the gravesite. So yeah, I'm just saying, Candace, it's the most common practice.
But see, that's not what this is about. She's not confused. She knows exactly what's going on. She knows exactly what she's doing.
For the rest of us, though, who think rationally, I just explained to you what is common.
Candace Owens is a modern day higher class Omarosa. That's exactly what
you stole that from me.
Well, no, you said it earlier.
Last week I did. You high five before.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's what she's just a little higher class.
Yeah.
And more charming comes across. Yeah. But now she's a wench.
For those who don't know, about 20 years ago during The Apprentice, there's this black woman who was just an attention whore. And she ended up suing Donald Trump and the whole thing.
When he gave her a job, he hired her.
The stupidest thing Trump ever did was make her part of the White House administration.
And then she turns around and writes a book.
Yes.
Trying to expose certain things in the White House and making stuff up. Yeah, and just, come on, go away. And what I don't understand is that these people are so short-sighted that they don't realize you're putting a dagger into your own heart.
Yeah.
It's the same with Candace Owen. I prophesy right now that Candace Owen will be a byword in 2 years.
Now, Tucker Carlson, much to the irritation of the AIPAC, the Israeli lobby, has recently been on the Charlie Kirk show. And, Ben Shapiro right away came in and hosted after Charlie's death. And so, the Kirk organization says, no, we're not making litmus tests for our fellow conservatives. And here recently, Tucker Carlson did a podcast episode. He had Matt Walsh on. And Matt said, look, they want me to denounce you. Ben Shapiro's, Daily Wire. And I'm not going to. Matt put his own career on the line because he's controlled by Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro. And thank God for people of that character. And another guy, Steve Deese, who was part of Glenn Beck's organization, Blaze. He was on this week again with Charlie Kirk, and he just says, we have to quit doing this, demanding, you have to have my position on war, or you're a tool of fill in the blank.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but I see that being the Ben Shapiro thing, the AIPAC thing. You saw how they're going after the head of the the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah, that's when it ticked me off.
2 more people resigned in protest because the president won't condemn Tucker for not condemning Nick Fuentes. They won't say what Nick Fuentes needs to be condemned for.
Yeah.
They won't say it.
It's funny. I keep reading articles about Nick Fuentes. Mm-hmm. And he's this anti-Semitic, anti-minority, this and that. And I keep trying to read his stuff and find where he's this radical racist person, okay? And now, here's the deal. Nick does have a nationalistic attitude. In other words,
he calls it America First.
America First.
And that is nationalism.
Right. Now, in who's more nationalistic than any other country on earth? Israel.
Yeah. And Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
So Trump kind of helped me crystallize and solidify this whole attitude that just because you're for your people. Yeah. In fact, here's the funny thing. Okay. And basically, the criticism is that they're ethnocentric. Well, why is it that a black person can be ethnocentric? My people.
It's only so
Hispanics.
Yeah.
Whatever you are, if you're a minority, viva la raza.
Yes.
Long live the race.
Yep.
But if you're white, no, you can't be. No,
I'm still waiting for NFL to do the white national anthem.
Well, that would be the Star Spangled Banner. They do it every week.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard, but no. But I understand what you're saying, and I love it when they show the audience and you got somebody sitting there like this during the Black National Anthem. I mean, they're so stupid. All they're doing is fomenting more dissatisfaction, dislike. You know? Instead, just let it go. We have one national anthem, and that's it. One pledge. We pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
Now, I will say, I've found one journalist who has exposed objective problems with Nick Fuentes, and that was Tucker Carlson. He said, you can't judge a person by things they can't control, such as what family they were born in, blood and that. And you cannot judge them by which group they're from.
Right.
Their acts should be judged on their own merit or vice.
Right. And so you remember a little over a year ago, I was running for office. And what was the dagger in my campaign? It was the op-ed by one of the matriarchs of the Tulsa Jewish community, and then some rabbi who wouldn't know me from Rocky J. Squirrel, and yet they're writing editorials in the Tulsa World denouncing me for being anti-Semitic. And it's so funny because I've always, years ago when I got married, my mother bought me a Star of David. I've got to quit doing that. My wife bought a Star of David. You know how you exchange things before the wedding with your fiance? Well, she gave me this beautiful gold Star of David. And I wore it for years and years until we went overseas. And then we were going to Morocco and I couldn't have a cross on my ring. And so cross and star, would just create issues when you're trying to go across the border and stuff. But anyway, but I would run into Muslims in LA or in Orange County and they instantly see the Star of David and they get mad, One guy tried to reach and rip it off and I had to, get rid of him. But anyway, but it's so amazing how the Jewish community that does not know me was so ready to attack me. And I don't have any, I believe in the scripture, and we've talked about this, that the Jews are still God's chosen people. Okay. Now, within that, it's like my children are my chosen children, right? They are my family. And yet I had a son or have a son who decided to zig when everybody else was zagging. And I had to deal with it. Right. And so I couldn't treat him the same way I was treating the others. But that doesn't mean I don't love my son or I don't respect who he is he's my son. I didn't disown him, didn't disavow him. I just dealt with him in a certain way. And it's kind of how I do with Jewish people. I do it with everybody, just basically, just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you're good or you're bad. And so you still have to prove yourself as an individual, one-on-one or group to group or whatever. And I especially hold, just an affection, I guess you would, for the people of Israel. See, we don't know. There was a book series out. Oh, I can't think of it. The Jerusalem Covenant and Jerusalem Chronicles. Bodhi Thaini is the lady's name. Bodhi, Thoenie, Thaini, Bodhi. And you can probably still find her books, but it's this whole series of the pre-World War II, all the way through World War II, and the establishment of Israel as a nation again. And my wife and I read those. She would read and then I would get them. some of the greatest, oh man, I get goosebumps thinking about some of the greatest novels ever written to me. I love those. And it dealt with what the Jews actually went through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can understand a lot of where they are and what they're about. At the same time, I feel I have a right to criticize when somebody does something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And when you and I were talking about the Kanye West thing in the Madison Avenue and Hollywood Jewish community that was running the arts, management of the arts, how we had issues with that. And that's what Kanye, anyway, that was used against me. So what I'm saying is, again, biblically, God loves Jews. Okay. I'm sorry. Deal with it. It doesn't mean he hates black people. He doesn't hate Hispanics. He doesn't hate white people.
God loves Persians too.
He loves Persians. That's right. Iranians. Yeah. In fact, Darius and Cyrus, even Babylon was Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And but anyway, I'm digressing again. But I think the bottom line is Nick Fuentes, you have to judge everything he says, look deep down beyond. Now, where I think Nick may have Candace syndrome or something, where it's become the controversy has elevated him to a certain level, and so he has to keep up with that. That's a trait that happens to a lot of people, and they, although you're on the right path, all of a sudden you get diluted into.
Yeah, I have to say, I have good, plausible suspicions that Nick Fuentes is a federal plant.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, who was it? Milo.
To what end?
Milo, who accompanied Nick and Kanye to a dinner sit down with Trump. He played the video of Nick Fuentes with bullhorn right outside the Capitol. Says, "We need to storm the Capitol."
Nick.
Yeah, that's a Ray Epps moment.
Right, it was.
Okay,
yeah.
If you believe Ray Epps is a Fed, which I do, you have to say, you know what? Maybe Nick too. And I would say Stuart Rhodes, I'm very suspicious of. So I want to.
He was with Oath Keepers, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I do think that was the feds putting up this organization so they can track the right. I had the first ministry job I had under a senior pastor in South Minneapolis. I'm talking to him, Steve Oates. He says, "Yeah, right out of high school, I went to work for Federal Reserve. They would hire 18-year-old boys who were fit. He says I was a starter on the football team, Tyler, Texas. So you see, I was in pretty good shape. And the bundles they had us carry all said canceled checks on them. And their armed people would walk behind you, but they would make the guy, if there's going to be a heist, they're going to shoot the 16-year-old or the 18-year-old kid." He says, "That was my job." He says, "Those weren't canceled checks." And this is way back in 60s, 70s. Well, anyway, and he said, "I almost didn't get the job because they do a background check." And they said, "What were you doing at a Klan rally 4 years ago?" The feds would park outside and they take down all the license plates. That's how much the feds run Oppo research on anybody they consider to be a threat. But so that's why I think, Nick Fuentes, there's a good chance he's nothing more than that. But what I wanted to get back to, I just bought a new work vehicle this fall for my company, and the dealer I bought it from is Jordanian. He is an immigrant to here. And we got to talking. I started just going on and on about the great archaeology that is in Jordan, about the great Jordanian people, the Bedouin roots and everything. And he was just amazed at everything I knew about him. And he's like, "This Belgian kid is speaking so well of my people." Well, I want a good deal on the car I was buying, you know. And one of my customers this summer lives not far from me. He came here from Iran. And I said, you know, Iran. And I started talking about the great tradition of Iran under the Medo-Persian Empire. I said, in fact, there was such a great leader that the Jewish prophetic text prophesied his reign 100 years before he was born. I said, they call him Cyrus. He says, Kurash. That's what. He says, in Persian, it's pronounced Kurash. You know, and he's so proud. This guy's beaming because here I am saying great things about him, about his people, his lineage. And here's the thing. It doesn't take away anything from me to speak well of somebody. But why is it, Eddie, that so many people are so caught up in this negative tribalism that the only way I can feel elevated is by putting others down?
Right.
And this Iranian guy, you should hear the way he runs out. Oh, the Indians, they are gutter, they are trash. You know, he just goes on and on about everybody else. He's putting them down. And I'm hoping I can, by my example, say it doesn't take away anything from who I am to honor who you are.
Right.
And I'm the same way when it comes to, you know, the nation of Israel. Yes, God has a special plan. But you know what? My Jordanian friend, God has a special plan for him. You know, his people are descendants of Esau, who Jacob stole from. You know what? And that's what I say. I think we all have a calling. And I think we ought to be focusing on our own calling instead of worrying about whether or not God called somebody else.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. You've heard that before.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, the whole Israeli thing, and it's kind of like the Candace thing. It's like, I have this thing, and I got this way back. I mean, I don't even know if I was a Christian when I started believing this, but I started seeing the relationship between Mexicans and Black people. Okay. And it's like little man syndrome, that no one wants to be low man on the totem pole. Mm-hmm. And so Black people want to have somebody that they can look down on.
Just like Okies have Arkansas to look down on.
Right. And Mexicans want to look down on Black people because surely there's somebody beneath us. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, they never think about it. Wait a minute. I'm not a low man on the totem pole. I have dignity. I have value. Mm-hmm. I have the love of God. Mm-hmm. Maybe more so than the fat cat on the hill. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just have to understand it and live in that. But too many people don't. I still read, like on Facebook, I'll see these Black people posting stuff, and just the craziest, the absolute craziest stuff, just the hatred towards white America.
Yeah.
And while you're sitting here worried about white America, you're being played by these people from foreign countries that could care less about you. They could care less. It's like you were talking about the what'd you call them? The lesbians for Allah.
Yeah, lesbians for Allah.
you got Black people that think that they're going to get respect. Well, did you know that up until maybe probably in the last 5 years, Islam had no word for Black people except a word, slave. Mm-hmm. You know, so if you saw Black people, oh yeah, those slaves, they need to learn how to behave or whatever.
Yeah. So
they have less respect. And where is slavery still present in the world today? Mm-hmm. In Islamic countries. Mm-hmm. And what kind of slaves are they? Mm-hmm. African slaves. Mm-hmm. I mean, the people are so stupid that they don't bother to look at that. They just they're so filled with bitterness and hatred and so forth. They can't let it go. You've got to let it go. Years ago, I was done wrong by some fellow promoters that I got involved with, and they left me holding the bag for thousands of dollars on this festival we were doing. And I went to a lawyer and all this. Well, Don Francisco, great songwriter, great
talented,
great person.
So anyway, he came ballads.
So he and I did this tour with him, but it was just me and him. I was driving. I was the sound guy and the whole deal. And we're having dinner one night, and he said, "Hey man," he said, "you really let this thing with Uli," was the German guy's name that was giving me the problems. "You really let Uli bother you? You really let?" He said, "You got to let it go. You got to let it go." He said, "I used to feel that way. And but it did me no good, and you got to just let it go." And so it was so hard to let it go because I had been aggrieved, And so, but I did. I mean, Don's words stuck in my mind. He said, God will give it back to you. You'll be fine,
Precious God.
And I finally did it, and sure enough. And but here's the funniest one. Okay, so I'm on an airplane with Greg X Volz.
Yeah.
The original singer for Petra, and he had his own band, and so we're flying to Stockholm, and so we're sitting there, we're talking, and I was saying, "Man, Petra really, you really got done bad by them, didn't you?" He said, "Well, yeah, because there was some kind of not so kind stuff that was done," and I said, "That's all right." And now I'm being the guy. It's okay. God will get them. God will deal with it. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. He said, "Eddie, that's just it. That's not how it works. Because if for God, and this, I will never forget this, and you should never forget." He says, "If God can forgive me for the things I've done against him, he has to forgive them." And then I lose again. So he was, but it made so much sense that we never think of it that, we can say, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." So don't worry about it, Dave. But if we're honest, the sin we have within our own lives can condemn us to hell. So why are we so wanting them to go to hell or get punished by God when we're as deserving as they are in just different ways? And I've never, anytime I want to get upset with somebody or feel aggrieved, I will never forget that plane flight sitting there and us talking and him telling me that if God is going to do something to some, what will he do to me? I have to forgive. You have to forgive.
Without getting into too many details, it's very much a good word for me right now, what you're saying. But I will say this, because I spent a lot of time in prayer about it here recently. You're right. Everything you're saying is true. But if God changes not just their mind, but their heart, it's the hardest thing to deal with is the grieving regret at the damage you did to somebody that not only does God love, but you love, and you deeply regret the harm you do to their life. Some things they don't get back. And that's the one thing that's like, okay, they're always going to have to live with themselves.
Yeah.
And what it does to their heart when they let their heart go cold and lie to themselves and justify to themselves.
Yeah, I'm always still struggling with the fact, Lord, kill them, smite them, smite them. I'm going to use biblical King James English. Smite them, God. They're just a bunch of dirty, rotten scoundrels, But then I always come back, that's right. I'm supposed to be praying for them. I'm supposed to be praying for them. But it's so hard. It's so hard, Lord. It's okay. Pray for them. Pray for them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, human nature is human nature. We're going to be who we're going to be.
Yeah.
And so you just have to ask God to continually to forgive you and to forgive others. And then, even though we're not perfect in it, I think the more you say it, the more you practice it, the more it becomes real in your life. And what's amazing is it's like tithing. The more you get used to it, all of a sudden you start seeing it work out in your life. You start seeing the blessings. You start seeing life becomes just different. It just becomes easier. It becomes pleasant and so forth. You lose that root of bitterness.
Yeah, you're generous, and what do you know? Blessing comes not just to you, but back through you again.
Right. It's like when I first got saved, this is where I started. I'd run into people, and if they didn't just, oh, hey, brother, how you doing? Welcome,
Mm-hmm.
And they had any type of attitude, I thought, oh, they're a racist. They're a racist. Nah, I was counting racists, basically, And I remember God speaking clearly. I think I shared this before, but God saying, Eddie, you got to let it go. You won't survive. In the kingdom of God this way.
Yeah.
And so I said, but God, it's so hard. He said, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. He said, you'll see, you're going to find 3 different type of people. You're going to find the person that's just got stuff on their own mind. They're just, it's their wife, their kids, their job, their this and that. And they just don't have time to be worried about you right now or to be pleasant. They're just pray for them, help them, And then the second one is the person that is a racist, but I will use you to turn them around and to touch their hearts and change them. And then there's that third person who's a racist, going to be a racist, going to die a racist. But just like Pharaoh, I will harden their hearts and condemn them in it. But I will give you 5-fold blessings from another place for every bit of offense that you receive here. And all of a sudden I thought, wow, man, that's an offer I can't refuse.
There you go.
So after that, I just never saw it again. I mean, it was just boom, it was gone. But I mean, I got to a point where I was checking every white person I ran into, trying to discern, are they racist? Are they racist? It's from my background.
Yeah.
And sure enough, everything that I experienced that God spoke to me, every last one of them happened.
Yeah.
And that was a real pivotal moment in my life.
Well, when you give it to God, I mean, casting your care upon Him, it is so liberating.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
It is hard.
We want to control. Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But you've got to do it. You've got to do it. So that's how I'm able to. And I try to help my Black friends, my fraternity people, my Black alum from Texas Tech, who are still, some of them just so eaten up with it. It's just, I feel sorry for them. I pity them because their lives are miserable because of it.
Sometimes it's the excuse for their own failure.
Yeah.
They'd rather blame somebody else and take responsibility. Yeah. And they just need to read Booker T. Washington's book and get up from slavery.
Booker T. and George Washington Carver's another one.
Yeah.
By the way, Miami finally scored 3 points. It's 3-0.
All right.
Over A&M, 3-0. And it's, we're in 8 minutes in the third quarter. So it'll be interesting.
I've got another thing. I don't know if you want to talk about this, but it's big.
Okay.
On Thursday, from the Oval Office, Donald Trump signed an executive order reclassifying cannabis as Schedule 3.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
No, just
Eddie, I think it's a good thing from your perspective and your concerns, because this has a potential to move it into a medicine that you get from the pharmacy. The big thing is there'll be no excuse for bad science anymore, because there's been a ban on any clinical testing for medicinal use.
Yeah.
And Dr. Oz said one of the best lines, because he's standing right next to Trump. He says, this is not an easy thing for a president. He said, for the last 20 years, presidents have punted on this. And he said, until you. He says, presidents, Democrat and Republican, they would talk rhetoric, but do nothing. And they admitted that the VA said, yeah, right now we're just pumping these veterans full of benzos, like my dad, addicting, disabling. People with cancer treatment, who it really helps them deal with chemo and the nausea, pain management. He says there's still a lot to research to find what is the optimal possibilities on that. And I talked about it, but he had several people in the lab coats there talking about different aspects of it. And they just said, we need good answers on this. And then they did address, what you're talking about, Eddie, is the people that just want it as a recreational feel-good crutch. And none of what Trump does enables that. What it is a federal government that's so far behind that states are just kind of done. 40 states have some form of medical use authorization. And this kind of says, okay, federal government is going to lead here. It's going to help the business, for instance, banking, IRS, because right now we've had, I think probably 80% of the cannabis businesses that have started up in Oklahoma have failed because they can't write off any of their legitimate business expenses because of the federal IRS thing. But so this is a start. And I hope it gets to a place of a more responsible, prudent, well-informed, scientific place on this.
Yeah. See, here's my view. I don't have anything against marijuana per se for medicinal use. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to say you're for it based on medicinal use, you can't say that these head shops named pharmacies are truly that.
Right.
My thing is put it back behind the counter at a legitimate pharmacy with a licensed pharmacist. And so if somebody has cancer, some different issues where they need for pain or mental issues, and you have to get a prescription, and then doctors have to I would say doctors need to justify the prescription.
That's a good point.
But keep it as a pharmaceutical, a class 3 drug, and then I'm all for it. But this thing where they get, because honestly, just let's be honest, these states have found a new cash cow.
That's what's motivating a lot of it.
The licenses to have a pharmacy are ridiculous. You got to apply every year and pay this fee every year. And I think it's gone up quite a bit, even from the beginning. So you've got that. And then you're basically, bringing all this money into the state that you're paying taxes on. So, now the federal government, one reason that Trump may be supporting it, he's probably hearing from these, federal people, we're losing out on all this taxable income that we could be getting because we're letting the states get all the money. And so, not that I don't think that he's necessarily doing it because of that, but that's an additional benefit.
No, the current rate is killing the businesses by assessing income tax without write-offs. Right now, they're getting the cash cow.
Right. So, but what that's doing, though, is causing people to lie and cheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. Black markets are created by government regulation.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you have this underground economy going on. And so this way, if you open it up, people can legitimately do it, but you're taxing them only at the normal rate, retail rate or whatever the taxes would be. So, so again, I'm not opposed to the medicinal marijuana. I just want it to truly be medicinal.
You want a better system of accountability.
Exactly. I, to be honest with you, I say legalize hashish.
Mm-hmm.
That's more potent and probably more effective even than marijuana in certain things. You know, and morphine you have already. And what's the other one that
morphine Schedule 3. Well,
no. What I'm saying, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, make it all Schedule 3.
Well,
you get
hydrocodone, for instance, Schedule 3, right?
Right, which is silly.
Well, does it have a legitimate medicinal use? Yeah. But it should be very controlled.
Right.
In that way, because kids die. I want to say this.
Well, yeah, that's a big reason.
Within the realm of medicinal therapeutic use, I think you and I are on the same page. On the casual use, I'm a teetotaler.
Wait a minute. Let me say something. Okay. In my mind just now, I was confusing hydrocodone with hydrochloroquine. But even hydrocodone, which is in some, you can buy it as what they used to call it. It's called Norco now. Norco. They changed the name from hydrocodone to Norco. And I have a whole personal story about that. It's good stuff. But and I never got high. You don't get high. So I don't know. Maybe I just got too low a dose or whatever. Mm-hmm. But every time, you go to dentist would give it to you. And for other pain issues, the Norco or the hydrocodone.
Yeah, there's a big need
but it's very addictive too if you use it a lot.
That's the thing.
That's the problem.
But so what I want to say is the non-therapeutic use, which some people call recreational, I refer to as casual use. To me, I want to put it in the same box is liquor, because liquor kills, so can all these other things. I personally, and Eddie, you personally, we have not seen marijuana users suffer to the extent that we've seen alcohol destroy. So a good doctor will say, stay away from both of them as a crutch.
Well, I think one reason you haven't seen it is because it is still illegal. I think that would be one of the reasons.
It is so pervasive. It's the big cash cow for the cartels.
From what I've understood is that Colorado is experiencing some major negative impact from the marijuana.
Long-term significant use will fry your brain. I'm saying that as somebody who helped pass 788. And I've told lies people, because I get invited to their pot parties. I don't go. And I say, look, if you can't get through a day emotionally without it, get help. Talk to a therapist. At least know why you're taking it. Mm-hmm. Because there's people that just they cannot tolerate living a sober life. And you should be able to.
And your pharmacy is not going to do that for you, though. Your pharmacy.
So that's where I'm at. I'm not, and I talk to some of my friends who are truly radical teetotalers. I just ask them, are you for going back to the liquor prohibition of the 1920s? And I've only run into one or two that said yes. Most people say, you know what, that wasn't a workable solution. It's what led to the crime syndicates, largely the Al Capones, right? And because they exploited vices. So I just say, at least be consistent. Because one of my biggest goals was I wanted to run the cartels out of business in Oklahoma. It hasn't happened.
No, it won't. It won't happen because, they'll figure out a way to undercut. Because, if the guy running the pharmacy is charging, $50 for an ounce of marijuana, and the cartel, because they're not paying taxes or doing it legally, then they're charging $20.
Yeah.
So that's how they do it. It's always, but what bothers me is I've seen states get to the point where all they're really in it for is revenue for the state.
Yes.
And see, like, you talk about addiction. The states have become addicted to that money.
That's it.
They've become addicted to the money. So now how do you go back and start cutting back your educational and then what happens? You get your schools that increase their budget because they're addicted to being able to ask for more money every year, and all these different agencies and different entities that are living off the state dime, the federal dime.
I've got a little.
It's just.
I've got a little different take on this,
okay,
Eddie. Back in the 90s, we passed pari-mutuel betting, horse racing,
right.
And how did they sell it? The money will go to education,
right,
for the children.
Yeah.
And then they passed a lottery, and they passed bingo, and then they got casino gambling for the children.
For the children.
Okay, how much of that money is going to the children?
Marijuana is for the children too.
Yeah, and so it's never going to end up for the children.
No.
We're exploiting the children to sell it to people, And so, I just don't see that happening.
No, I agree.
But Eddie, I love your point about who's the real addict here. It's big government wanting more and more and more and more.
More and more.
And, we also see it. And here comes my segue. This ridiculous professionalism we're seeing now in college sports. It's because, the big conferences want the big TV deals. In order to fund those big TV deals, they got to sell sports betting. You're going to see in the legislature this year, Eddie, get ready for it, because we're going to end up talking about it.
Wait. I'm going to back up a second. So you're saying that the conferences need sports betting to get good TV deals?
That's the only way that they're being paid for. You go look at, when you get home, turn on ESPN.
Oh, the ads.
See
You're talking about the commercials.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's who's funding it.
All right, now I got you. Okay.
It's only possible when Disney Corporation sees how much can DraftKings sell, or all the different ones. I don't mean to just pick on one, but, that just comes to mind because they do most advertising. But that's what's paying. Mm-hmm. These college athletes who are finally getting the $1 million a year or whatever, they're getting it from gambling, but they're told, you get caught gambling, you're off the team.
That's what, that
the hypocrisy.
It is total hypocrisy. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And there's somebody up at the top making the money.
Yeah.
Same with the casinos. It's supposed to help the Native Americans. You go out west to these reservations, mm-hmm. They're still living in shanties out there, these poor, now the Cherokee seem to be doing okay, and the mm-hmm. Osage, and Choctaw are doing really well. But you go out to the Navajo, mm-hmm. the Sioux, they're just not, that money's not trickling down to them for some reason.
Let me give you a good firsthand example. I'm at one of my customers' house, find out he's on the tribal council of the Osage, but he's got a house here in South Tulsa. And he says to me, Dave, you're from Minnesota, right? I said, yeah. He said, these guys just, he has them come to the door. He says, yeah, they've been working up there in, Menominee. He said, working with the Menominee tribe in northern Minnesota, putting their casinos in. I started talking to these guys. They all have a New Jersey accent. And they all have last names that sound like Corleone.
I thought he was going to say Schwartz.
No, they're getting, they're bringing in the pros to run it.
Yeah.
The Italians, and they're getting their cut.
Oh, yeah.
You don't give them their cut.
You mean the state is...
There might be a horse head in your bed tomorrow morning.
The state is getting their cut.
Well, the state is, but also, the big operators that are working in their deals.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about it's flipped around.
Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, the big cut is up here and the trigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's we've gotten into a pretty much of a pickle.
And here's the other thing, Eddie.
Who wants to stand against it? I mean, it's there now, and it's politically not expedient to try to make a change. So
when I was with on the board as president of NAMI Tulsa, we dealt with the State Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Okay, they now handle the addiction issues, whether it's a substance addiction or any other kind. And the legislature tasked that department to handle gambling addiction. And we had this woman come speak. It was the commissioner of mental health about what they're doing to work with the casinos to identify those people who have an addiction. And what the tribes have done is they said, okay, if you can't control yourself, you can ask us to put us on your list. It has to be signed, affidavit, notarized, and everything. And you're giving us permission to kick you off the premises anytime we see you. Mm-hmm. In other words, saying, you can't control yourself, you're giving us power to control you. And I don't know how well they're doing it. But Eddie, one of your predecessors at your radio station left town after a hugely embarrassing blow up at one or more of the casinos. Yeah, you're smiling, you know what I'm talking about. And it affects
he
all of us.
He seems to have landed okay, though.
You know what? Thank God when people put their life back together. Thank God when people overcome their issues. And sometimes there's several.
Do you think he's actually overcome his issues?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, Bill Bennett, the education secretary, Rick Brinkley, who's scheduled to be our next state Senate pro temp, went to jail, prison for 3 years for embezzling to fund his addiction.
Yeah, but he wasn't really in prison.
I don't think he was given a just sentence. I think it should have been much harder.
Right.
And that's the problem between
this. Put him in real jail now.
Well, they tried him under federal law rather than state law. And our state law is a lot tougher than the feds on white collar crimes, which, he wore a suit and tie to work. Therefore, it's a white collar crime. If somebody else, a lower, they would have busted him in state.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, there's people in jail still today for doing less than what he did.
Our election board secretary back in the 80s, Harmon Moore, embezzled $16,000, 7 years, double the sentence for 1/1000th of the money.
And probably didn't go to the same white collar prison.
Probably went to Mac. Yeah. So it's a real problem. And here's where I'm going with this. You'll never see it on the local TV news. You'll never see it on the local radio, unless maybe it's some nonprofit radio station. They advertise. If you want ad revenue coming in to prop up your TV station in this town, don't you go talking bad about the casinos.
Right. Oh, yeah, no. I mean, don't talk bad about the tribes, period.
Yeah. My one and only time being in studio with, Pat Campbell, I was, complaining about that it was an exclusive only for registered Indian tribes. And I just flat out said, do black casinos matter? Can a black man get a casino? This is a Jim Crow effect. Oh, he went to break and right away his text's blowing up. He says, we got to go back to this. He says, I'm here and I've got to address this. And he comes back. He says, you're accusing the tribes of Jim Crow laws. I said, oh, I didn't say that was the intention. I'm saying that's the result. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't the tribes that sold us out. It was the legislature giving a monopoly over to the tribes. They're the ones that sold us out. So anyway.
In the end, it all boils back down to money.
Yeah.
Money. The root of all evil, love of money.
Yep.
All right. Well, Dave, we probably better wrap up here
I think it's a good point. You want to do a last score? And
still 3-0 Miami over A&M. So I don't know when the next game begins, but
there's 3 of them today. So
right.
I thought the first one, that's the noon one. And also
Tulane and Ole Miss are the next one, and James Madison in Oregon.
Yeah. I think the one that's going to clean house is Oregon. I don't see James Madison playing at this level.
Oh, no.
And doing well.
Well, I don't think Tulane is going to do well against Ole Miss either.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I put Ole Miss as probably a 2-touchdown favorite.
Which reminds me, oh my goodness, the whole deal. You know how Oklahoma, what's his name, the USC coach now, Lincoln Riley. Well, that's nothing compared to Ole Miss and their coach. I can't think of his name now. He went to LSU. All of a sudden, he jumps and right there, they make it to a bowl game, and he decides he's going to go to us.
Yeah,
they could have, should have waited if you're going to do it. And what's that? He came from UCLA, no, USC. He was a USC coach for a while, and then he went to Alabama as an assistant for a while.
Yeah.
I cannot think of his name. I'm sure the people watching know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But you talk about people who really have reason for some grudge against this guy, Lane Kiffin.
There you go.
And he, I don't know if he really agonized about it or if he pretended that he was agonizing about it to try to get the people to think that, oh, this was such a hard decision for me to make. But he is now at LSU, and Ole Miss is playing in this game today under the assistants.
See, this is why, Eddie, you and I are on the same page about this, about the athletes getting their cut of the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always an embarrassing time of the year for college sports. As soon as the regular season's over and the chopping block, and you see not just the guys who get fired, but then the guys who get elevated, and watch them abandon their program for more dollars.
Right. Yep. Happens every year.
And, it's the Tim Gill and Bill Self thing.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Yeah. Oh.
We saw that up close.
A sensitive issue.
Yeah. Young kid decides, you know what? I want to go to, Arkansas under Nolan Richardson. And they all trash the slave for leaving the reservation or the plantation. But Bill Self goes across
2 weeks
town.
later. 2 weeks later, after
all the apologies and everything, then Bill Self does the very thing he condemned his player for doing.
Right. And the player ended up staying.
Yeah.
He ended up, there were two of them actually, but they ended up staying. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, and the media crucified Tim Gill and Rocky, I can't remember his last name, but just crucified him publicly.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, they were, it's such a wonderful thing. Bill Self is going to TU, ORU gets $2 million. I'm thinking, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And the media wouldn't say anything bad about that. Mm-mm. They're groupies. Yeah. The sports media just acts like groupies.
Well, and who is paying the most money and attention to them? Mm-hmm. So, well, we better quit. It's still 3-0. Hey, everybody, have a wonderful week. We will be, well, let me see, what is today? Next week is Christmas, isn't it?
It's a couple days after, and either if we do a remote show, it's about the only way I can do it.
Yeah, no, I understand. So it might be a new year when you hear from us, if you think about it. But anyway, we really want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy and prospero año.
There you go.
Prosperous new year.
Amen.
God bless everybody. Take care.
All right.